We're very happy to be having you with us as part of the 8th edition of Al Film for this special program that we have today. As part of this program, we're going to present the Robert Bosch Film Prize, and the Robert Bosch is actually a partner of our festival for some time now, and we're very happy with this cooperation. And we're also very happy to have Karen Schiele to represent the Film Prize, and she will also introduce it in a bit for you. We also happen to have filmmaker Ahmad Saleh and producer Stefan Gieren, who will be doing Ahmad will be doing a presentation on his film AYNY, which you're going to see as well. And then we're going to have a talk with Ahmad and Stefan on the making of this film. Both of them actually were nominees for this film in 2013. They didn't get the award, but they still made the film. However, both of them also won the award. Stefan last year and Ahmad this year. So we're going to discuss all of that. And afterwards, we're going to invite you outside for some informal networking sessions, so we can all get to meet each other, talk, discuss potential partnerships or work opportunities. And also Karen will be with us outside if you have any questions regarding the Robert Bosch Film Prize. So first, Karen, thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Rabia. Thank you also, Claudia and Fali, for inviting us. And you stole my text, you know.
Sorry. No. I know it by heart.
Me too. It is a very successful story which comes later on. We are actually showing the trailer from our program, and then I will tell you a little bit about what it is more about in detail. So let's see the trailer first. As you maybe could get a good impression through the trailer, it's a year-long program also, the Film Prize. It's a year-long training program for us, and it's also a competition in the end. After each year, 3 projects will be funded and can win the film prize of up to 60,000 euros, and this in the categories animation, short fiction film, or documentary, which can also be feature length. The main challenge, of course, is because in order to apply for the film prize, you need to have a German-Arab film team, meaning, sorry for that. You need to have a German-Arab film team, and this might be the main challenge, to find the right team partner for the Arab filmmakers, to find German producers, and for the German producers to find also Arab filmmakers. So we start in a very early moment, which is also early in the year, in the spring, where we offer these project markets. There's one project market called the Arab Animation Forum. That's mainly also where Ahmad was invited several times. It's in Stuttgart at the International Animated Film Festival, and only Arab animation filmmakers and German producers are invited. And the same, a little bit bigger, is organized in Amman in Jordan. It's called the Project Market Amman, and there we invite filmmakers from all over the Arab world, mainly with documentaries or short fiction films, but also animation is open. And we invite up to 20 directors there and up to 15 German producers. And in both project markets, the teams get to, still then individuals get to know each other and get introduced into each other, and the directors introduce their projects. And out of these project markets, we usually have a very good match of teams, meaning after 3, 4, 5 days, in Amman it's 5 days, in Stuttgart I think it's 3 days, they had time enough to really see if they will go for this application for the film prize. Usually we have, out of these then 35 projects, we have also 35 submissions. Not all of them come from the project market, so it's also open, of course, to filmmakers and film teams from the Germany and the Arab world who found each other somewhere or elsewhere, not only in their project markets. And then we start our application in early May, and out of all these applications, we will nominate 10 teams this year. And being nominated, since we developed the program last year for the first time to a more intense training program, so being nominated is also kind of a winning issue, because you kind of win a development grant, meaning the teams get invited to 3 different workshops in a row. So the first workshop, I'm sorry, this slide is really disturbing and following me. So the first workshop is a development workshop, and we invite the directors, the script writers, and the German producer to Germany, to Bremerhaven, to work there during 4 days with experts and consultants, script consultants, treatment consultants, and we also work on the project dossier, very intense. So it's 4 or 5 days again, and very intense teamwork. And then we invite only the producers, the German producer and the Arab producer, to Egypt to another workshop. It's called Producers Meeting. And last but not least, we invite the team again, German producer, Arab producer, and Arab director, back to Berlin to a pitch forum, where they get trained during 3 days, intensely trained to pitch, to learn how to pitch and to present their project to the jury, and it's followed by the pitch to the jury. So by then, this is in January, by then this is the decision, but the announcement of the decision will be done during Berlinale. Again, at Berlinale, the teams are invited. They also get, as we are partnering with Berlinale Talents, they get an accreditation to Berlinale. It's another important networking platform. They can they can attend and also benefit from. So after that, of course, 3 have won and 3 can go into production. And having one doesn't mean that we just let them go, but we also follow the production. We kind of have an evaluation meeting halfway through the production. Our regulation actually says that the production should be finished after, let's say, 1.5 years the latest. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer for animation, or sometimes also for documentaries. And then usually we invite the 3 winners 1 year later during Berlinale Talents, where our award ceremony takes place, to present already their work in progress. So that's the timeline, the schedule, so to say. But what is very important is, first of all, for us, is the intercultural exchange. The Robert Bosch Stiftung is not a film fund. It's one of the biggest foundations in Germany. And we are very interested in this intercultural exchange, but also meaning that to intensify this. So we also want the German producers to be there at the production in the Arab world, which usually takes place in the Arab world. And we also want to get the team, the Arab team, at least the Arab director and the Arab producer, hopefully, to come to Germany for most of the time post-production is taking place in Germany. So to come to Germany and learn these kind of working styles. So we want them to really immerse into the other culture. And also, I think our workshops, which we are offering, is already leading into this way to exchange each other and even grow you and extend your network for later on co-productions, or even just as friends. Or maybe there was something really nice from Alexander Vadou, who is one of our jury members, who said that he was also once nominated and he didn't win, but he's still a good friend with his Arab director, and he named his son after his now born son after this newly won friend. So yeah, I think we are now in the 6th year. I think this was the 5th. Yeah, we are now in. I think we are coming into the 6th year, and we have grown quite a big community between Germany and the Arab world. And for us, that's why I said it's really a nice, successful story, even though they didn't win the film prize, but they met through the film prize, and they went on producing their film together, and the film got. Well, I'm not going to text to steal your text, but won, of course, the student Oscar. And we have that very often, and especially now that we have extended our training program, we want that the teams, we hope actually that the teams continue their work and collaboration, even though they didn't win the prize, and find maybe other ways to produce the film. And we are very, already from last year, we are very happy to have at least 3-4 from the nominated teams who didn't win the prize, who still continue and work together. Yeah, I think though that's it so far. If you have any questions, you can ask them, but we have also a flyer, maybe to say some dates. The next call for the film prize will open in May, and there are 2 months for preparing the application, and it will end of June, and then the nomination will be mid of July, I think. Yeah. If you have any questions, feel free. I'm also out later on for the networking session, and I'm here also on the flyer. There's my contact there, and we have a website, and we are on Facebook, which is actually the best way to get all our information and our current activities. Yeah, I think, thank you, and I give over to, or maybe some questions first, and then I can give over to Ahmad and Stefan. Probably. Okay, then I give over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. Okay, so as Karen said, we have a successful story coming out of the film prize. Ahmad and Stefan didn't win the award when they were nominated in 2013, but because the award is not just an award that is given, there is so much that is done in preparation throughout the nomination process and throughout all the markets that are being made. Ahmad and Stefan managed to have a special bond, which led them after the film prize to produce the film. And the film is done. It's called AYNY. We're going to see it, but Ahmad is going to give us a special treat tonight. He will have a performance around the film. He will be doing a presentation on how the characters came to life, actually. So I will leave you with Ahmad now with his performance, and then afterwards we will have a Q&A with Ahmad and Stefan to discuss the whole process. So Ahmad, thank you for being with us.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's not really a performance. I'm not going to perform anything. And I just want to tell you the kind of the process of writing the story and what inspired me to write the story. It is actually, I already start to be nervous. This is this is a story that I cannot really even avoid not being nervous to talk about. It is a memory that stayed inside me for 10 years. And I knew since it happened, so something happened and I experienced something. And for 10 years, for a long time, this story lived with me. And there was a point where I felt like, okay, I should really do something with this story. I wanted to write a film about it. At that time, I started to look back in the memory to see, to find the details of that day, because in my memory, after 10 years, still the day is very clear for me from the beginning of it until one certain point. But from that certain point later, I don't know, I don't remember anything. So I tried to search about, to find what happened after that point, actually. And the first thing I did is I started to ask the people who were close to me at that time. I started to ask my sister, my friends. I used to live with my sister, and I asked her about, do you remember what happened after in that day? But actually, all of them told me that you didn't tell us anything about it. And then I realized that actually for 10 years, this really stayed inside me. I didn't talk even about it. So the only way I started to dig, to find more information about this film or the story, to look back in my diary. At that time, actually, I had the habit to write everything. And finally, when I found that the page of that day, I found only 3 sentences. It did not really help me to find what happened after that point, but it reminded me how surreal was the feeling of that day. The first sentence was, the taxi driver opened his window and shouted, "Injuries, injuries, injuries," exactly as an ambulance would shout, "Wee, wee, 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 wee." The second sentence was, the child who stood next to me, he needed to bend down to tap on my head. And the third one was, the man spoke to me in English, and he told me, "Why don't you go back to your country?" These 3 sentences, actually, the third one is exactly where I remember where that day ends, but I don't remember what happened after it. So even going to the diary didn't help me to know what happened after it. But I do remember exactly where the day started. And the day started with my struggle that started for a few years when I went back to live home, which is my home, but I wasn't born in it. And when I went home, I felt I will finally have this place where nobody will ask me, "Where are you from?" Or where nobody will feel that I'm different than them, where I feel like, okay, I'm just home. But actually, it was the opposite. It was like I feel there's so much differences that's very clear. The moment I speak, they know even which accent I have, you know. So, and then I had this. I was young. I was 19 years still, and I had this really struggle to really feel like I know I want to be like a local. I want to just be like them, and I want to reach the point where nobody will ask me, "Where are you from?" You know. And one thing I realized. Where from the people, actually, something I realized, I felt if I master this thing, I will be calling myself a local one day, which is that they had very strong and very special talent to make you laugh about tragedy. You know, they can you don't actually usually I would laugh at what they're saying, and then finally I start to think about wow, I was just laughing at somebody who lost his arm, or somebody whose friend is dead or injured or something. But they have this talent, and I always thought that I can actually, if I can do this, I will feel like I am a local. And believe me, I tried it very hard to an embarrassing point where there was a friend of mine, his father died actually, and I thought, okay, I will try to see this sense of humor if it works. So I thought, yeah, okay, yeah, but at least now your father died, but you have a mother, so no problem. But and you should see his face; he was so angry at me, talking to him like this, and I felt like, okay, I thought this is how you do it, no? But no, it wasn't. So the time went, and so I carried this struggle with me from the beginning of that day, where I wanted to visit only my aunt. My aunt lives in a refugee camp, and on the way, usually there are a lot of checkpoints. So I wanted to act like a local also, so I woke up early before the sun rises. And luckily, the way was very nice. Actually, there were no checkpoints, nothing. Actually, it was a very beautiful day. Like there was no any struggles in the way. And I reached to the refugee camp where my aunt was living. I didn't see my aunt for 5 years at that moment. And actually, maybe when I talk about refugee camps, maybe now you imagine like tents or these small like houses somewhere. But actually, those refugee camps are a bit special. They are there for 70 years. They're not tents. They're not small houses. They're houses that are like cities already. And I reached really early. And I go to, like, I could remember where my aunt lived between all these massive buildings that actually really like organic. Every year it changes how it looks. And when I arrived to my aunt's building, I looked up because this is actually how they kind of continue living. Every time the family grows, the houses grow on top of each other. And somehow you guess how many kids were being done on these 5 years where you leave the place. And I looked inside the house and I found my aunt was already awake, and she was actually preparing for breakfast. She was doing the bread. My aunt, when she grew older, she started to lose her hearing. So I knew that even if I shouted, she wouldn't hear me. So I threw a stone on her to tell her that I'm there because it was too early. I didn't want to wake all the neighborhood up. So she came up and she opened the door for me, and then directly she went to wake everyone in the house, and everybody was suddenly like this little yard in the house was full of all my cousins and their kids, and and we were having very beautiful breakfast. And I remember exactly how the look in my mother. She looks like my mother anyway. My aunt's eye, because the more she lost her hearing, the more deep the look in her eye. She would just be looking at us and like spreading this love from her deep eye, looking at us and seeing how we are all eating and enjoying the place. I see my cousin spreading the bread like frisbees for everybody. So it was really beautiful kind of breakfast on a concrete ground. And then my cousin told me, why don't we go to the city? Let's have a walk. I need to drink water. So I told me let's go and have a walk and go to the city, the closest city to the refugee camp. And when we started walking, we were just talking and everything was normal. Then we heard an explosion. The moment the explosion happened, I was walking next to my cousin, and there was like a passenger also walking with us on the street. And the moment the explosion happened, it wasn't close from us. It was like a far away explosion. At that moment, everyone on the street went down, and then I looked, oh, should I go down also? Then I went down. When I went down, everybody already was up. And then they started to laugh at me. My cousin was telling me, like, man, if there's shooting here, you'll be the first one dead here. And then I told them, no, but wait, like if the soldier or whatever who's shooting is shooting from down, then you will be the first one getting it in your neck. And actually this, it worked. They laughed at it. He laughed at it. The other guy laughed at it, and I felt, wow, okay, I'm doing progress here. I'm making people laugh. And this moment, we were just like close from where the taxis stop, and me and my cousin wanted to get in the car so to go to the city. And here I will stop this story. I will let you see the film first, and then I will continue in one point in the film. So I leave you to the film first. this was the explosion actually that we heard, and if I go back to the point where we were in the story, this where I was walking so proudly, feeling that I just made the joke that made me feel more like a local. We enter the taxi, and I look to the right, and I see out of the dust 2 guys carrying 2 boys. And he was just directly to us, coming to me with the boy. He puts the boy on my lap, and he puts the other boy on my cousin's lap. The taxi driver opens his window, and he starts shouting, "Injuries, injuries, injuries." The door were closing, everything was started to move. The guy who was also with us on the street, he immediately ran in the middle of the street to give signs to people. Maybe to give even more image about it, this is like, imagine the favelas in Brazil. It's so crowded, it's not easy actually to go out of with the car to the hospital. And in that moment, all the stories that I think about, all the stories that I heard about injuries or injured people and people were trying to get them to the hospital and they bleed to death. And this is the only thing I think about, and I cannot even think about anything else. I see a boy in my lap, but when I see how everybody else was working to get us into the hospital, the taxi driver shouts, "Injuries," the guy does this, and then all the cars on the way, they would hide between the little alleys in the refugee camp, like animals would hide in the bushes. And the car starts going. And I see like amazing picture of people immediately started to do, like to whistle and to give, it's like signal giving to each other one after the other to know that, okay, so this is the sign that we have injuries. We need a clear road. While this is happening, I see there was like construction in the middle of the street, like approaching us far away. And that moment, I started to even be more nervous, feeling that, okay, this is gonna stop us, and this kid will be dying in my lab. But all of a sudden, you see, like the trucks are moving, the people are coming down to cover everything to really let us go. And we go, like it was really like magical. Every injuries would move the houses for us. And another one would bring the hospital to us. All of us were in the hospital. And I was thinking, I don't know if I can even stand on the way, and like when we arrived to carry this thing. I'm so nervous. But I didn't even need to stand. Anyway, there was somebody waiting. They opened the door. They took the kid, and they went. And for me, I felt, okay, this is my time now to breathe. I stopped there. I started to look at people where they're like all going inside the hospital. And I wanted just to breathe. I wanted to really realize what happened in this long way, how actually we are here. And I started to just stop and wanted to think. Finally, when like everything was like silent a little bit, I feel a little bit, a small tap of a child. He was like trying to tap on my back maybe, but the only thing he reaches my butt. He was telling me, don't worry, they're not going to die. So it was very little. And actually, like at that moment, I didn't even realize the surrealness of the thing, because like, okay, I felt really good that he because I really was wondering, are they going to die or not? And somebody told me they're not going to die, don't worry. And this kid, the way he was talking, and made me feel like, okay, maybe he knows actually what happened. So actually, then I asked him what happened. He told me, I don't know. I think it's this kind of bump or that, because this kind of injuries, like he already analyzed what kind of injuries. He already kind of knew what kind of bump it could be. And then I feel like, do you know them? And he said, yeah, one of them is my brother. And it's like, the way he's talking, it's shocking. And I feel like, wow, man, you're so old. Like, the way you talk is much older than me. I cannot even, like, know what is this. And, like, he kept talking, and I really couldn't take it anymore. I wanted to run away from him, because it was shocking me more than the accident itself. And while I was going away, a man came to me. A man came to me, and he was also trying to calm me down, and he started to speak to me in English. And he told me, like, yeah, man, why are you here? You know, like, why don't you go to your country? We will not understand what's happening here. You know, you will never know. Don't. He thought I'm one of these activists coming to do something there. And that's actually what I remember about the day. And I stayed with the question about what could happen to the kids, which I wished I would find from anyone. But I didn't dare really to talk to my cousin. Even I didn't talk to him for 10 years until that moment. And there was the question, okay, what happened to the kids? And I finally had the courage to ask him. And his answer was like, I don't remember which kids you're talking about. You know how many kids we carried to the hospital? And then we had this question about what happened to the kids. But I kept wishing that the boy who told me that, don't worry, they will not die, that he's right. And this is how I wrote the end of the story, but we also researched for the boys, and actually they didn't die. And I just leave you with the last minute of the movie. It's the last scene, and thank you. Okay, so Stefan, can you join us? So Stefan is the producer of the film. As I told you, we did the research about the boys. He went to Palestine actually, and he found them with my cousin. And there was really good news for me that their eyes recovered, because both of them had, like when I carried the boy, his eye was on his face, like a tear kind of. And but both of them, their eyes recovered, and one of them, his hand recovered, the other one didn't make it. So one of them stayed with one hand, but it was really also inspiring to know what happened to them, how they're living, and they're really like big guys now, and yeah.
So we will be talking about actually the making of the animation in a bit. But first, since we heard this, the insightful story coming from Ahmad, I wanted to know from you, Stefan, as a producer, first how you got it attached to the project to a point that even if you didn't win the award, you decided that you want to produce this project. And we were talking with Ahmad that you also managed to get some funds that could help with the production. So how did the encounter go with Ahmad, and how did you decide, the two of you, to go on with making the project even if the project did not win the award?
Ahmad's first short animation was presented in a showcase for German short films in Cannes, which I attended, I think, 3 years before this was actually finished and released. And then at the point I was looking, I had been a nominee for the Bosch Forum once, and I was looking for filmmakers from the Arab world. And I felt so touched by Ahmad's very unique and personal way of storytelling that I just approached you on a party in Cannes somewhere after and said, I saw your film. I loved it, and it's like a raw diamond. And whenever you're doing your next thing, then please call me, let me know. And a few months later, and then we'd, like many times on film festivals, you say yes, and you connect via Facebook. And then you kind of lose track of each other. And a few months afterward, and the Bosch deadline came, and I thought, let me just find out where this guy was. Let me just call him. And at the point when I called you, you were apparently just waiting for or preparing this project. Maybe you want to.
Yeah, it's true actually. Like the day when he called me, I had big coffee, and I thought I'm not gonna finish it until I find the producer. And really, at that day, because the deadline was approaching, and then he called me, and actually I didn't remember that he was a producer. I was like, wait a minute, are you a producer? Why didn't you tell me before? But maybe he told me, but I just didn't listen to it. Yeah. Yeah.
And so from that point, I wanted to talk about the importance of the film prize, because the exposure that this award gives you in making the project happen, actually, in thinking about it, in rewriting it, in pitching it. So regardless of whether one wins the prize or not, as Karin said, actually, a nominee is something that is very important for the actual film because it gets to grow and grow and grow. So what was the importance of the film prize for you in building the project together as a director and producer, not just as having Ahmad's own ideas floating, but also as you pitching in and then further bringing money to the project?
Well, in international art house films, it doesn't work like an ordinary business. It's not like you go to a bank, you say, this is my business plan, and we're going to make revenues and profit, and please give us the money, this is how much we need. It's a process of going someplace, failing, going another place, failing a little bit worse, going another place, failing a little bit less. So it's a process where you develop the story, and more than about the money, it's about whom you work with, whom do you want to spend the time working on this project. And the Bosch Foundation, I think, and the entire competition gave us the possibility to actually work together. There was a clear deadline, we had to meet the deadline. There was a pitch, we had to sit together and prepare a presentation. And by doing this, we kind of became partners in this. And I felt, working with you, I felt more and more blessed to be part of this project. And when we failed, in the end, it was like, of course, it's a disappointment because there's a lack of money that you suddenly have in your financing plan. But then it's like, okay, well, let's just try someplace else. And we tried someplace else and we got money. We got maybe less than we would have gotten with the Bosch Foundation. But we still managed to make the film over the course of the coming 2.5 years that came afterwards.
And so it's very strange when we were talking with Ahmad, he said that you actually went there and you found the boys and Ahmad had not seen them. So let's talk a bit about the making of the actual film. And I mean, you saw the guys as grown-ups, but how did you manage to conceive these two characters in a way that you made them? I mean, let's talk a bit about the animation, the making of the animation as such.
Yeah, first, of course, hearing the I was telling him that I cannot go because I have things in my university, but actually I was really scared to go. Even this, I don't know. I think to face them again is really scary for me. This year, no, not this year. Last year, we're still in the beginning of the year. Last year I went to visit my aunt again, but I just skipped the idea of seeing them. I don't know why. It's really hard for me to. So, but Stefan brought a lot of documentary material. He talked to them, and so I saw them in video, and from the way they talk, from the way it's really inspiring also to see that it's like an accident that kind of stopped with me for a long time, but for them it's like, yeah, I need to go out with my life, like it cannot be a tragedy or it can't be one kid, but for me it was important because I'd never seen this, and I think it's a little bit dangerous where things become very normal somehow. So I distracted the essence of it as much as I could, because this is what I was trying to do. And in the film, as you see, the explosion and the way to the hospital, and this was not important actually anymore, because there were some details from the memory and the way I talked to the kids, and that I saw, for example, this little boy who was tapping on me, and I was thinking a lot about him, how could he have this strength to see that I'm worried, and he could actually, and thinking about that, you can see the mother behind him before he came to me, doing the same thing to him, and he did it to me, and that's why the mother came in the story. So actually there was a lot of analyzation of images that came from the real story, and I tried to build characters out of it, because I didn't see the real mother actually. It was just because of that hand actually. And the animation itself, actually there's a lot from maybe who knows the refugees camps. You could feel maybe in the stages, the way the clothes, the colors, and this, we try to distract a lot. There's this really interesting thing that all kids wear sport clothes there. That's something we wanted to put in the clothes. There's a lot of things, and the main thing was the spirit we tried to portray in short film about this whole refugees camps. There was like the puppets, making actually preparing the film was like a 1 year, and then shooting was really fast. But the preparation and all these ideas until we made the story, and that was the longest time. Yeah.
And Stefan, did you have as much input as you wanted in the making of the film in the end?
Do you mean as a producer? Or
Yes, as a producer, but also as someone who was involved with the project for such a long time before it actually happened.
I'm not sure if there's like an official guideline or benchmark for how much influence you should have on a project. It is finished now. It makes me very proud. So yes, everything went right after. We've been through many ways, and in the end it worked out, and it's beautiful, and I love it.
So this is something that I think Ahmad said many people ask him about now, because the film actually ended up winning the Academy Award for Best Animation Short in last September, actually. And so it really feels like it's a culmination for all the work that you did. Can you tell us more about the exposure that this could that this brought actually to you as a producer, as a director?
First of all, it's a great thing to have like this type of a cooperation, and it's also a specific technique in animation. So it's not obvious that a film like this would make it this far and receive such an award in a place like Los Angeles. It's really not obvious to do this, and I think now traveling with the film, having the film screen on festivals worldwide, is a beautiful opportunity to actually celebrate this type of cooperations between cultures, to highlight Arab films also. So this is awesome to be part of. In terms of my personal exposure, that's not why I'm doing the project. So I'm doing my project for the exposure of the project or the topic or so. Maybe Ahmed, you can tell more about what this brought for you as a director in your career.
Actually, like somehow, first of all, it was a story that I wanted to tell, and that helps the story to be told in a way, and that's for sure the biggest win, because it gives it more chance to be screened. Although actually it's not really like that. I thought winning this Academy Award will help the film just be accepted all over, but it's not really like this. It was still rejected by many festivals, but still we are in a good base, of course, and it's great to see the story being told. The other thing is actually like also it makes the connection easy to people, to audience, to universities, and it's giving me opportunities to hold lectures or tell the story, or even make workshops, and that's something I think without this it will take longer time until this happens. So it's really pushing, and for me it's like I like opportunities like that where also I can tell the story. I try to do more than that. Yeah.
But we're being still rejected. But I know at least one very important German festival which turned down the film before, and now after the Academy Award, it will show the film. So there are also these type of stories. I'm not going to mention which one, but these exist also.
Well, before letting you ask some questions to Stefan and Ahmed, I want to also finish things with more positive news. As we said in the beginning, Stefan finally was a winner of the Film Prize last year, and he is producing a Lebanese short film with filmmaker Fayrouz Sarhal, and the film is called Tashwish, and it's currently in post-production.
It's almost finished. So we are sending it out to festivals already.
Yeah, super. And then Ahmad won the award this year, the Robert Bosch Award this year, with your short animation called Night. And we're also very much looking forward to see this one. We wanted to see if any of you has any question to Stefan and Ahmad. And yeah.
This film shows Palestinians with half hand. I think this is the reason why you won the prize.
Actually, like if I don't know if you see it really like as a victim, but as I was trying to see really like how, in the end, there are these people who are without arms, but actually the strength of them, actually what I showed. I don't know if you see it that it shows them as victims, but even if you know, actually the film doesn't say even Palestinians, like, so it's just about people, and this is a story that happened to two boys, and it doesn't really tell anywhere where it happened or something. So I don't know, at least I tried to show strong two boys. Even with that, they would find the way to survive, and this is something actually but I tried. Maybe I failed, I don't know. Yeah, I don't say it in the film actually.
Actually, there with all of the films, there's always the Q&A situations, and many times the question is coming to Ahmed, where does this take place? And I heard him say many times, it doesn't matter, and I'm not going to tell you. In this context, he just right now he mentioned it because we were traveling there, but usually this is not part of the narration of the film. It doesn't matter a lot if there's an Arab context. Of course, some people may recognize the Arab language, but the context doesn't matter so much. It's really more of a universal approach to telling stories of war and of tragedies of war and how people can cope with it positively. It's not so much about the actual country where it happened.
Can you talk maybe a bit about how you did like the tone, sound, and music post-production, how it works with people and how fast it's
Okay, the sound design was done by a friend of mine who worked with me in the first film. Actually, we worked. We were always. I was working with people in different places, so he would send me files and we see it together. But in the end, when we did the last design, we met and we did the last design. Is this how you are? Is this answering your question? Yeah. So that was the sound piece, and the music was like I was searching for oud composers, and then finally I found one, and he also did it at home, kind of, and he sent the file. And in the end, in my university, I studied in KHM here in Cologne. They do the sound mix, and there where we did kind of the final piece in the school. Yeah. Mm.
And I remember Ahmed spending nights and nights of cutting frames and rearranging frames so the movement of the boys playing guitar would match the actual oud piece.
How does it change your view to the actual events afterwards, after the film is finished, after you see how you expressed your emotions and your remembrance of these events?
I feel like at least I did it, like, because it was kind of something I felt it's an important story, at least for me it was. So yeah, I feel this kind of achievement, but I thought maybe like as maybe we hear always writing or doing something can relieve you from something. But in the end, we are connected with these stories. I don't think we can just, like, okay, I did it now. I live my life. It's never like this, I think. Because it's part of me, actually. Like, I learned so much from the story. Like, as I was talking also on the story, like, I felt them local. But I know that I will never, although they were always telling me, you will never be like us, don't even try it. Don't even pretend to be, And I always felt angry at it. But it's true. I will never be someone who can laugh in 1 second and in another second I can be so, I don't think I can reach this, So it is, it's, but I feel good that at least I did it somehow, yeah.
The two boys also see it?
This is the hardest point for me. Like, I'm going to Palestine actually after the festival. And I will try to do this. It will be nice to do it at least. I don't know, but I will try my best. Yeah.
You have to know that the boys, the puppets, are created to the likeness of the actual boys. which was the reason for the trip before the production, to actually find out what they look like and to make the puppets resemble them. So this is what kind of makes this somewhat a poetic version, but still there is a connection to them which will be visible to them and their families.
Yeah, and that what makes it a bit harder, because it's maybe them, and then I exaggerate in the story. I don't know how they will receive that, or if they will like it even. I don't know really, so yeah.
Do the boys know that these boys resemble?
Yes, because we told them we want to take their photos to use it in the character design and that,
The thing is that for them the situation is not yet over. They are still disabled. One that has some shrapnels under his skin, they have not been removed in those 10 years. They are still there. So in a way, they are also hoping for treatment or better chances that may come out of this film, which we cannot provide because this is not we are not making money out of this film that we can spend or donate to give the medical treatment. This is not what we can do at this point, even after all of the award that we received and after all of the attention. So there is a lot of personal responsibility that's connected between the film and the actual boys.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stefan. Thank you, Ahmad. Thank you, Karen. And we're inviting you outside for for like a networking session, and then we can have some drinks as well. And Ahmad's film actually will be screened also during the festival as part of one of the shorts programs. So if in case you would like to tell your friends to come see it, feel free, because the film has further screenings during the festival. Thank you so much.